Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to everyone here. Welcome to everyone in our virtual audience. Welcome to everyone on Sheridan Drive and Indian Trail Drive over here. It's so nice to see everyone come in. We think about parking spaces and we think about cars. I never thought about the concept of us feeling comfortable in our own space within the lines of the parking space. We're in this moment of the pandemic where I call it the mask chin period.
Not shin.
Yeah. We're all trying to navigate. I want to say from the beginning that we should all be very careful and sensitive. Everyone is in a very different place here, even where we are in the pandemic, and I imagine it will continue this way. So when you're going and approaching people later, just be careful. Some people are going to be more cognizant of using a mask, and just be respectful. And I think we'll be all good. And we're going to have a nice, happy, and beautiful service. And one of the reasons I know we're going to have such an amazing service is because we have Bruce Corris back, who I do not hear him coughing. He has made it through. So welcome back, Bruce.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And welcome to a spectacular summer Shir Shalom Shabbat. How's that? 5 S's in a row. You guys know I love alliteration. I wrote for Irv Weinstein for 5 years. It is drilled into me. But anyway, could the night be any better? One thing that could make it better, if the rabbi says, I'm experimenting with trying to do the world's shortest sermon. Short of that, it's a great night. It's good to be back. I've missed being here. And it's wonderful to see. Rabbi talked about all you in our parking spots. Rabbi, we have a bumper crop of congregants tonight. What do you think?
Yes.
It's a beautiful night for a beautiful service. We have Cantor, we have Mike, we have Rabbi, the Peter, Paul, and Mary of Judaism, and they're going to give us a wonderful, warm Shabbat on this beautiful, warm summer night. So enjoy. I'll be back later with the announcements. We have a lot of neat stuff coming up, so enjoy the service. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
We did get many calls over the week that we're missing Bruce last week. Bruce, you know the joke my friend Rabbi Perry Netter taught me. What happens when a rabbi takes off his or her watch? What does it mean? Absolutely nothing. So I have a poem in honor of this place in the pandemic that we're at. It's called Waltzing Down Maple, and I credit Danila Kester with a wonderful title. I know it was going to be okay when the porch sales started reappearing. Long rows of wicker baskets and baby strollers mixed with colorful potted plants. Golfers were out on the range, methodically slapping balls across the dry grass, and I caught sight of an older woman with a bright blue bruise over her nose tilting down her mask. Hydrangeas were blooming and kids jaunted off the school bus like tiny insects. I too wanted to revel, dancing across supermarket aisles that months before had seemed like dark alleyways. Cheerios and Captain Crunch had given me the stink eye. V-Day had arrived. I wanted to be the sailor who smooched the anonymous nurse. Anything was possible. Pandemic be damned. Nothing could prevent my maskless smile from taking a long look in the rearview mirror, naked except a slight hint of unkempt beard. That last line is not true. I'm pretty clean shaven, but I did notice lots of people like Kyle wandering around here with beards. I think it's really back in fashion. So we are going to be turning in our prayer books, which I don't have one, but I'll go get one in a second. We're going to go to Lechuna Ranana, one of the hymns to welcome Shabbat, on page 130. I just want to let you know I'm wearing my Women of the Wall tallis here. We're at the beginning of Tammuz, and also in support of that group. There was some violence just today for the first day of Rosh Chodesh. There was some prayer books that were torn and ripped apart, and so we send our support across the seas that the Kotel should be an open space for everyone. So let's turn to 130 for the Lechuna Ranana.
Try with me.
You know what that song means? It sings, let's sing out to Shabbat. Let's be filled with happiness. We're going to light our candles, which are ready for the wind here. A nice breeze, I should say. And we're going to turn to our candle lighting on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik leh shel Shabbat.
We open our eyes and we can see the beauty around us. And we can hear the birds. Cantor, you hear the birds, right?
I did.
Beautiful to be able to hear it. And we come into Shabbat. Let's take a deep breath. We haven't done that yet. Bring in everything we want to hold on to and let go everything that we don't need anymore. We're going to raise our Kiddush cup here. One of these days we'll fill it, but right now it's still empty for safety's purpose. Page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'riat ha'afen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu l'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'b'ratzon ihilanu zikaron le'maseh bereshit kihu yom tehilah le'mikra'ei kodesh zecher yetziat Mitzrayim kivanu acharta viltanu kidashta mikol hamim Shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava u'v'ratzon imhalkanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim, to life. We'll all drink. This was a funny thing with the wind here. The challah cover blew off, and the challah cover is to protect the challah, they say, because the challah usually goes first. And so we protect it because the kiddush goes first on Friday night, but the challah kind of got ahead of itself. We'll turn to that at the end of the service. I think we're ready to welcome in the Shabbat bride into this space. I think we have a fitting space now. Page 138 for L'Chadodi, and we're going to sing the first and the last verse. Together in the last verse, we rise and face Sheridan Drive as we welcome any newcomers, and then we wave to each other.
Something got in my shoe and stung me.
Oh no, are you okay?
Yeah, I think so.
So nice to see everyone. Remain standing for our call to prayer, page 146, with Deep Arfu.
This is a free clothespin night. La la la, la 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 la, la 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 la. La la la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
On page 147, let's read together the reading at the bottom. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. Oh, let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. We remain standing for the Shema, which is on page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
May be seated. We turn to the V'ahavta, page 150.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'b'chol nafshecha v'b'chol me'adecha v'hayu advarim ha'emet asher Elohim etzavcha hayom al levavecha Teshinata b'levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochtecha u'v'kummecha u'kshartam le'ot hayadecha v'hayu ledot avot בין עיניך וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשברך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Clips, Mike, clips, clothespins.
That was the words to one of our final songs, so it's good that we caught it. We're going to continue now, page 157, with a responsive reading, and I think it's appropriate to this time, the bottom reading. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. And together, the high heavens declare your glory, may earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way, together, inspired by prophets, instructed by sages. Time and again we overcame the oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. And on the next page, 158, we have the Song of the Sea, Mi Chamocha.
Come on,
Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Blessed are you, God, who redeems us from difficult times. I invite you to rise if you're able. Page 164 for the Tefillah or Amidah. And we'll do the beginning prayers out loud through page 170.
Adonai, sifatai tifta, uviagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, Hideyot, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zotech Chasdei Avot, V'Imachot, U'Mevi Gevula Lifnei B'neihem, L'Ma'an Shemo, Ve'Ahava, Melech Chazer U'Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham, Yitzhak Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, V'chayei hakol, Atah Rab V'Hoshia, Morid atah, V'chakel Chaim V'chesed, V'chayei hakol, V'rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim, V'rofeh Cholim, U'matir Asurim, U'mekayem Emunato, Nishedei Afar, V'kachochav Ba'al Gevurot, U'midom Elah, Melech Eilim, U'mekayem, U'matzliach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekayem hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yehallelujah selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue with our own private prayers through page 180, and whenever you're ready, you may be seated. learned Cantor in our Talmud study why we sing Oseh Shalom at the end. Harvey's smiling over there. There is a section of Yoma 53b where they talk about how we are respectful of one another, especially of teachers. And it talks about taking steps back, away, as you're moving away, and actually moving to your right, and then to your left, and then they have an argument if it's the left or the right. But at the end, you should end with Shalom. They don't have the prayer Oseh Shalom there, but that is the genesis of the prayer Oseh Shalom. I thought that was pretty cool. We're going to turn to our healing blessing on page 371. And as always, our hearts are heavy with many people in our extended community and family that are in need of prayers. I'm going to read our list. Those of you that are joining us virtually, feel free to type in names if you're able to. And also those of us here, if you have a name, I'll ask you to just raise your hand in just a bit. On our synagogue list, we're thinking about Brenda Alisi, Michael Berwick, Ira Cohen, Karen Cooper, Michelle Davis, Arthur Dzelke, Lori Ebach, Faggy Fox, Irene Green, Jeff Hamilton, Nancy Herzbrom, Sue Hill, Howard Hilfstein, Diane Lynch, Jean McGarry, Helene Mesh, Jennifer Millich, Karen Place, Mary Rumez, Jason Shaw, Michael Citron, Frank Ginta. Sorry, Freudian slip. I think we have Sinatras in our group, so. Cindy Seiner, Christopher Smith, Meg Wagner, Carol Wilson, Fred Weiner, Elizabeth Jeezy Yeager, Hannah Ezra Ben Shuel, Amir Ben Tova, and Tova Ban Miriam. If you have other names you want to offer, I'll start on this one. And if you want, if you want proof that it worked, Bruce is standing over here. He's all back. So page 371, Mishabera. Body and soul. May all of our prayers to those that are here or to our loved ones, may they go forth. May the people that we love so much, may they know and feel our presence and know that we're thinking about them and praying for their safety. So I would like to do something that I haven't done before. I'm going to do what I'll call stretching. And this is not stretching like this. This is stretching, doing something that goes into that makes us uncomfortable. It's really, really important in our time to try out new things, especially if they're of benefit to other people or could make a difference in this world. This past week we had Rabbi Becky Silverstein come. I see Robin over here, who's representing welcoming over at CGL, the Center for Engagement and Jewish Learning. And we brought in Rabbi Becky Silverstein, who's a transgender rabbi, and he had a chance to speak to us about his journey, also about Talmud study. And it was very illuminating. One of the things that he said that was impactful for me, it was a question I had asked him, what is the thing we should really take away? He said, be forgiving. Don't expect that we'll understand how to do things right away. He said, if you go off and you say, Rabbi Becky, she said, and you make a mistake with a pronoun, that's okay. Just forgive yourself. And he said it happens to him too. There's so many different things. And the other thing I'll say that was really wonderful, Rabbi Becky had a chance to speak to more of the agencies and Jewish leaders in this area. And he gave a chart of which is a spectrum of how to behave with one another. And it starts off with hostility or hostile, and then it goes to indifference, tolerance, inclusiveness, and embracing. And as long as you're kind of moving in the right direction on that, then you're okay. So I'm going to try something in honor of Rabbi Becky's teaching. This is not something that he talked about, but I think it's important for us, and I'm going to explain why, and it also connects to our Torah reading. I'd like to say that we need to acknowledge that we right now are on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, and we honor the sovereignty of the 6 nations, the Mohawk, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, and Seneca, and Tuscarora, and their land where we are situated and where the majority of our work today takes place. In this acknowledgement, we hope to demonstrate respect for the treaties that were made on these territories and remorse for the harms and mistakes of the far and recent past. And we pledge to work toward partnership with a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. It's easy to forget that there's trauma in these lands. As I was mentioning my voice going out, I realized, of course, Indian Trail Drive is right here. We have a marker of people that lived here, existed here, and were likely displaced from here, and that our life and our actions here has an impact on, and that we have an impact in. This past week, or over the last couple of weeks, something came out in Canada, which you might have seen. It's a really horrendous story, but it's also something that shows that they're doing the very hard work that they need to do to reconcile. And when it comes to Indigenous or First Nations, I think Canada is very far ahead of us here in America. They often do these acknowledgments. It's much more culturally normal. There was an Indian residential school called Kamloops. I don't know if you saw this on the news. And it spoke to me in particularly this week. There were 215 Indigenous children found in a mass grave. Now, my understanding, these weren't kids that were killed at one time. This was over a collection. These were unnamed, unmarked. Over 150,000 children went through these systems of what the Canadian government called cultural genocide, where they would actively remove the Indigenous from them and remove the culture from them and take them away from their families. And now they have what's called a ground penetrating radar. It's very interesting, where they can actually locate these remains, and they actually believe that many, many more kids are probably buried in this site, and they're going to continue to look. The estimates are at least 10,000, not in that one site, but in other sites. And one of the amazing things that I saw and when I was reading about this is that this school actually was open. It began in 1883, but it went till 1996. That's hard to believe. And we have similar situations here in America. I think as the Jewish community, we understand what it means to be kind of in that tormented place. We understand what mass graves. If anyone has seen the picture of Baba Yar that they have over at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, when you walk through, just that horrendous picture of mass graves that exist, unfortunately, for many communities around the world. I mentioned these words this week, which is the Torah portion is Korach. Korach tells the tale of a rebellion, and in the rebellion, which is Korach is the main leader against Moses, along with several people named Datan and Abiram, and there's 250 other individuals. Keep in mind the 250 and 215, they have a challenge, and what ends up happening is the earth opens up and they're swallowed up. I never thought about this. This is a mass grave. And it is something that actually echoes in the Torah tradition over and over and again. We hear the word of Korah. It's forgotten as a place. We don't know where this place is, but the actual memory of the trauma is still there. I was over at the Pine Ridge Cemeteries today, at the Holy Order of the Living, which has in front of it, if you go on Pine Ridge, it has a little space, inside space, which is wonderful. It's the only place within Pine Ridge with all the many cemeteries there that has it, and it's very well kept. This is the Sakalifta burial ground, and for the people that came there. And I was there for a service today, and I was looking at the posters that are there, because I was thinking about the pogrom. I mentioned in my Torah thoughts that pogroms were the major driver of many of our families coming here. And many of that history, much of that history is forgotten. There were countless number of pogroms, starting, as I said, in 1821, 200 years ago, and extending well into the 20th century. And there on the wall of this small room that's used often for burials is a poster. They have it in Hebrew, or maybe Yiddish, and in English, and it is the pogrom of Sokolivka, which was in 1918, on the 7 days in Av, which is our worst Hebrew month. That's when the temple is supposed to be destroyed. And you have a list, not of 10 people, not of 20 people, but well over 50 people were killed in those 7 days of attacks. I was actually there today with a family that was Sokolivka, and I was talking to one of them whose mother was a 7-year-old in 1918, and she remembers as a 7-year-old her parents told her to hide because she knew that at that time they were lucky. At least they knew children would not be harmed. And so she managed to escape. But she, as a 7-year-old, we can only imagine how horrific that would have been, had to be there by herself. So as we think about Korach, as we think about the indigenous people and First Nations, it's really our obligation to not let things be buried. Things don't want to be buried. I mentioned the Tulsa massacre as a pogrom, and that was the label in the foreword that they gave it. It really was. It's not just the Jewish community that was affected by these many atrocities, and so many of them are buried underneath our soil. I think it's time. It's time we uplift them. So as a practice, I don't know if I'm going to do this all the time, but this is my first time. I'm going to stretch a little as we do, as Rabbi Becky told me to do, and that we all should try. I've made some phone calls out to Native Americans in our own community that I'm friends with to ask their advice for how to proceed, and I do know it's complicated. But this is the start, and as we start on the journey, may we find our own way to redeem this terrible history that we have. Maybe look differently at our exit here on Indian Trail, and maybe look differently at the land with appreciation for being here. We can't do anything. Most of our families were not here during the trauma that led to the displacement, but we can uplift them and not forget them, just like we don't want to be forgotten in our own way. And I think we owe that to our ancestors, and even to Korach, who may have been a terrible person. We don't know, but we still uplift that moment, and we don't let it be buried in the sands of history. We're going to turn now to the end of our service, to Aleinu. I invite you to rise, to stretch in your own way. Page 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא שרו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שכרנו כהם בקורבננו, ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 591.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We turn to the mourner's Kaddish. It's with great sadness that I report the death of Barry Cohen. We had a funeral today. That is the son of our member Evelyn Cohen, as well as the brother of Cheryl Orlick. There will be a Shiva service at the Orlicks tomorrow night from 7 to 9, with a service itself at 7:30, and our thoughts and prayers with them on this difficult day. We also lost this week Pauline Brummer and Marilyn Kriegel, and our thoughts and prayers with those families. And we also said goodbye to Dr. Robert Milch earlier in the week. The hospice center was renamed in his honor, I understand, on Monday. We owe a great debt of gratitude to his wonderful work in helping thousands of people, at the very least, in his work. We're also thinking about Charles Culata, who is the uncle of Tom Moscato, who died recently. May their names be for a blessing. I know there's many here that are gathered for the yard site. I'm going to read our synagogue list. If you have a name that you want to be read on a particular day, just call Nancy McGorry in our office. As our synagogue community, we're thinking about Nancy Abramowitz, Rose Berg, Sultana Berger, Harry Berman, Philip Brody, Nathan Cassover, Bernard Clement, Suzanne Cohn, Sandra Gale Klein, Davidson, Roberta DeBruin, Stephen Doan, Alan Goldberg, Irving Grass, Eugene Kaplan, Sidney Letman, Daniel Levine, Sandra Lynn Lodge, Ray Markel, Rose Meyer, Dr. Robert Mincer, Lila Padikoff, Albert A. Pierce, Sarah Revo, Mary Rosenberg, Frida Rubenstein, Avery Abba Sandberg, Marilyn Sandberg, Max Schaeffler, Ethel Schreiber, Abraham Schwartz, Linda Sellers, Hannah Shapiro, Sadie Simon, Henry Stein, and Dr. Beverly Winston. There's other names. I invite those whose custom it is to rise, to please rise. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. 598. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. V'alma, V'ivra, V'urtei, V'yamlit, Malchutei. V'chayachon, V'yamachon, V'yeh, Obey Israel, V'agalah, Zman, Harib, Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Norach, V'elam, Omei Almayah. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitramam, Yinaseh. Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shmei Kudashah, Yirchu. Leila Mikol Birchata V'shirata, Tush B'chata V'nechamata, Damiran V'alma, Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shlam Rabbah Min Shemaya. Chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom V'yimramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'yimru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony and high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world, and we say, Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. Zikronam Livracha. I'd like to invite Bruce, of course, again, our synagogue president, for another couple weeks. A month. Okay. To offer the announcements.
Shabbat Shalom again, everyone. Thank you to Rabbi Alex, Cantor Frank, and Mike Frank, as I mentioned, our little Peter, Paul, and Mary tonight, for a wonderful and very nice, warm service tonight in honor of Shabbat. We want to thank our farewell greeters, Robin Raphael and Alan Gellen. They'll be out there waving as you leave. Do not hit them as you drive past them, please. We also want to thank, where's Kyle? Is he buzzing around again? Well, we want to thank Kyle
Can't
Burt
catch him.
for our outdoor setup and Allison Weinberger for our outdoor sound setup. Tomorrow morning, we will have Torah study at 9 a.m. Someone's coming to arrest me for bad jokes. Saturday morning, we will have Torah study at 9 a.m., Shabbat morning service, and virtual Kiddush luncheon at 11 a.m. Both are on Zoom. Go to the website for the links. Some thank yous. We want to say thank you to everyone who sponsored, volunteered, or supported our Shred It event last Saturday. I also want to say thank you to Larry Kosis for honchoing this, making it happen. And also thank you to everyone who either volunteered or supported Shabbatas this past Tuesday. It was a good week for fundraising for us. They were both very successful, and as you know, that's so important to us. So thank you, and please continue to support them. Speaking of which, our next Shabbatas is on Tuesday, June 22nd, from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. or until sold out. Be sure to check the website and place your pre-orders so you can save $1 per meal and guarantee that you will get one. This coming week, Buffalo Corner Reading Series returns. That's Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. via Zoom. We will have a guest host, the Edgar Award-winning author, Gary Earl Ross, who will introduce friends from Mystery Writers of America. That's going to be very, very, very cool. Spoiler alert, people die in these mysteries. And they always find the killer. Very cool. Next Friday, we'll be back out here in the parking lot, weather permitting. 7 o'clock p.m. If the weather is not so nice, we will be indoors in the sanctuary. Either way, RSVPs are required. Save the date, Wednesday, June 23rd, our next men's group meeting. We will have a guest speaker, Gon Erez, who is the new Chief Program Officer for the JCC. He is here from Israel, a very interesting man. Thank you to Dan Kester, our men's group president, for continuing to arrange very interesting speakers. If you haven't yet signed up for the Jewish Heritage Cruise in Europe, which will be the summer of 2022, cabins are filling up quickly. This thing is really catching fire. Robin is here if you want to chat with her about that, or contact the temple office. Monday, August 2nd, we will be back with the summer celebration at Transit Valley Country Club. Golf, lunch, dinner. We didn't do it last year because of the pandemic. This is a nice joint venture between us and Temple Beth Zion and the Federation. So if you would like to be a sponsor, if you would like to sign up for it, please contact Tom Lansing or talk to me after services tonight if you would like. Also, we want to thank everyone who completed our High Holy Days survey. That information is very helpful as we plan for this coming year. I can tell you we have been hard at work. We've had many meetings and many conversations, and we want to make sure that we provide the best experience possible for you on the high holidays. So Stay tuned for more information as more plans get nailed down and we can release them to you. And of course, we're always going to continue to evaluate things. As I said the other day, at the congregational meeting, I said, the light at the end of the tunnel is kind of like not a freight train bearing down on us anymore, which is kind of nice. But we're going to continue to evaluate, and we're going to continue to always put your safety first. You can be assured of that. Thank you again for being here tonight. Thank you to Rabbi Cantor and to Mike. If you need us for anything, you know how to reach us. We have cell phones. The Cantor, the Rabbi, Joanne, myself, we're here for you at any time. If it's the middle of the night, of course, that's when you call Joanne. Thank you again for being part of this really wonderful Shir Shalom family. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Bruce.
Speaking of Joanne, you don't have them in your... Oh, there they are. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Ice cream treats. Ice cream treats being handed out right after the service. So don't leave. Oh, and when you do leave, just make sure we're all squared away. You come out of there, you go as close as possible to the lawn when you come out. Don't drive through the middle of the chairs. Don't drive through the rabbis and the cantor's tripod and the speakers. These are valuable pieces of equipment.
Cantors.
Those are the cantors, yes. So please, very expensive equipment, very important people. Drive as far from them as possible. And again, wave at Robin and Alan, but don't drive over their feet. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Bruce, and also Allison back there. You probably said her name, but thank you. I know, I spaced out.
You know what, Bruce? We thought they were going to arrest you for those bad jokes, and now you're just pushing the envelope because you know that they passed by the property already.
And they can hear us, too.
And we thank our officer back over there as well. Just a reminder, just like I said last time, when we're coming back together, remember there's all sorts of sensitivities here. Just be aware and, just ask. I think that's the appropriate thing as you're going into other people's spaces. We are going towards the end, page 640.
Oh, 625.
625. Yeah, I don't think Adona Love. 625.
Yeah, 625. Erev, I know this one's one of your favorite ones. Adona Love, Hashem Allah, Erev, Yitzir Nivra, V'Nasam, V'Hem Sokol, Asar V'Shemot Nivra, V'Yacharei, Yitlok Takol, Levado, Yitlok Torah, V'Toya, V'Over, V'Yeh V'Tikara,
Is ready. It was waiting a whole time. Here we go. Chala Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz V'Tei Avon. As you came in peace, may you leave in peace. We're so grateful you're here, and Shabbat Shalom. don't forget the ice cream.
Shoppers, 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 shoppers. Jeden so sein Shoppers. Shoppers, so sein, Shoppers, so sein. Shoppers heute ganze Welt. Shoppers, so sein, Shoppers, so sein. Shoppers heute ganze Welt. Ja, ba, 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 ba. Ja, ba, 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 ba.